All right, welcome back to the show, Mr. Wathan. We have no Ian today. I'm sure he's sick again, probably from Disney. So I got a Adam Wathan
Disney
to
will
fill
do
in
it to
for
you.
him.
Disney will do it to you.
Are you on my team for the Disney debate?
The Disney thing is kind of interesting, actually. I'm not a Disney adult. I'll say
Okay.
that. I'm
Okay.
not secretly someone who's in love with Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it is fun to take the kids there. The kids have a
Mm-hmm.
good time. It's nice to see the kids have a good time. It's nice to see the kids be excited, so that's good. Personally, not a lot there for me. The rides kind
As an
of are
adult.
weak,
Yeah.
But I will say what is actually truly epic is the Disney cruise. I will
Okay.
say we've done 2 Disney cruises, and those have been by far my most enjoyed family vacations we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only done
And
one cruise ever, and it was no kids, and it was Alaska,
yeah.
and it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
really great. I have friends who are like, how could you like a cruise? That's the most peasant thing in the world. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
it was
Cruises
pretty
are,
great.
dude, I never thought I would ever like a cruise. Like the idea of being on a big, giant metal thing that has no
Mm-hmm.
business floating
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of open water sounded like it would be sort of terrifying.
Trapped with a
Actually,
bunch of people.
extremely serene, actually,
Mm-hmm.
to be out on the deck and not be able to see anything except water. And then the Disneyification of it for the kids is just like ideal. I don't know. Normally you go on trips with the kids and it's like you're jamming everyone into the car. You got to put everyone
Yes.
in their car
Yes.
seats. You're doing a little day trip somewhere. You got to bring all your goddamn stuff and hope you don't forget anything. And do we got the wipes? Do we got the diapers? Do we got the change of clothes in case the kid shits their pants? All that stuff. And but on the Disney cruise, man, it's just like all the entertainment is in the vessel that you're
Yep.
on. It's just
Yep.
put them in a stroller, walk them to the Minnie Mouse meet and greet, go to the Mickey Mouse dance party. Kid shits their pants, you just take them back to the room. It's no problem, So it's real low key, low stress. There's a million things to do. The kids have a great time. Yeah, I don't know. It was vacation on easy mode in my opinion, and
I do
really good.
the no schlepping. That's the part I hate about the trips with kids is the
Big
schlepping.
time, dude.
There's so much stuff.
If you have any reason to need to bring a wagon with you, you've already lost.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh well, we hope Ian gets better. I actually have no idea why he's sick, but keep your gallbladder, folks, because ever since he lost it, he's been getting sick. So there's gallbladder does something.
That's
we
what
don't
it
know
does.
what, but we
It's
don't
something
know
to do
what.
with that. There's yeah.
All right. So we got a couple of things we want to talk about. First,
do you got any topics today? I got a couple things, but
I have a few. First is one that I found hysterical. You tweeted a few days ago, 7 years into this and still at 0 MRR, and the comments were all condolences for Adam.
Yeah,
so I don't
yeah.
think people quite got it.
Well, I'll tell you what the motivation for that tweet was. A friend of mine, I don't know if you've noticed this too, but in this sort of online indie hacking quote unquote community, I wouldn't really say it's a community. It's just a lot of self-identified indie hackers. Peter sent me like a screenshot of something where someone was on Twitter saying, I just reached like 3K in MRR. And then Peter went to their website and took a screenshot of the pricing, and the pricing was one time. And it's just like, you're at $0 MRR. Actually,
Yep, exactly.
There's definitely a bit of a contagion on the internet of people. Anytime they make $1, they classify it as recurring revenue. And I would argue that if someone until someone pays you for that second time, it's hard to really classify it as like recurring in the first place. So I just thought I would take a little jab at that, and I posted the tweet about being at $0 recurring revenue, even though of course like we do make millions of dollars a year.
Of course,
doing just fine, so.
It was very funny. There were some very earnest, well-meaning people like, hey, do you take sponsorships? I would love to support. And it's like, that's nice, but I think you missed the joke.
I mean, I'll still take it, but yeah, I liked Daniel Vassallo's reply, which was just like, R is enough.
R is enough. Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. He's been on about that for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just a little one. So I have some topics, but you want to talk YouTube? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Do you want to start with YouTube because that might take a
Yeah, I
while?
mean, I got a bunch of stuff all related to that. I mean, it all kind of started for me as we did that little mini course thing that you might have
Mm-hmm.
seen, that email course. Had this idea to do that as sort of a marketing project, build up a list, deliver some free value, have the opportunity to mention a paid thing, see if,
Mm-hmm.
some percentage of people jump on that, thought that would be good for business. Side note, didn't really work. That's fine. But instead, kind of the fun outcome from that for me was the when we wanted to get all the recording and everything going, get everything started, Steve came by to work with me for the day. My Steve, not
Your
your Steve.
Steve. Mm-hmm.
My Steve came by to my place just to sort of help me kind of get the space ready to record. So much easier to like position lights and the camera and all that stuff when someone can sit in the chair and someone else
Yep.
can sort of move everything around.
Mm-hmm.
And we put up a bunch of acoustic panels, rearranged a bunch of stuff, whatever.
Space looks awesome, by the way.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so kind of just got all that stuff figured out. And at the end of that day, it was just kind of like, man, that was a fun day.
Mm.
Like I've been working from home for like 10 years. That's like the most fun I've ever had, like working from home, is like hanging out with somebody else, doing stuff where we're moving around a little bit, whatever. And it just kind of made me start thinking, like, am I sort of under valuing, or I don't know what the right word is, but just not really recognizing how much better my life would be if I was like working with friends in person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it kind of got me on a little bit of a kick thinking like, Steve, maybe we should try that out. Like maybe we should rent an office. And Steve's been really wanting to get back into doing the refactoring UI videos that he used to
Great
do, or it's
videos.
like the before and after videos.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about kind of doing a second edition of the refactoring UI book and making it a bit more of a web-based thing where we can add video content and stuff. And I used to do so much more video content and streaming
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And anytime I kind of like force myself to do it, I actually realize I actually really enjoy doing that stuff. And I think it would be good for business. And then on top of that, I sort of have been desperate for a bit of a new challenge, but I haven't really been able to figure out what that is. And it's also kind of hard to just do something that feels like completely different.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, that kind of experience got me thinking, man, maybe it would be fun to try going like really hard into video and YouTube and sort of trying to figure that out and master that and working on it in person and setting up a studio with like
Mm-hmm.
multiple sets. And,
Mm-hmm.
that just sounds kind of like a new era. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel like I need the next era at this point because I've been doing things sort of the same way for a long time. And obviously, we'd still be building Tailwind and maintaining Tailwind and all the stuff that we're doing. But I got really excited about this idea of like, let's like draw a line in the timeline here, where
Mm-hmm.
there's like a very clear, this is new. Versus how we were doing things before. So I got excited about that. We went and looked at some spaces last week. Didn't really find exactly what we were looking for. We're supposed to look at some spaces this week, but me and Steve ultimately kind of decided, why don't we just try setting up some space in my house? Because we can do that right away. And I
Yep.
just put all this effort into setting up my office for recording stuff. And we have another room that we can use to sort of work out of, and just try that out and go all in on it. And if 4 months in, we're like, this is sick, we need to get an office, then we'll get an office. If it just doesn't come to fruition and Steve ends up only coming like once a week and it just kind of like flames out, well, now we're not stuck with like a 5-year lease on some like building or something, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, that's kind of like what I'm excited about right now. And I've been thinking a lot about what does it mean for us to get into YouTube stuff? What's the strategy? Um, what is the business model? Whatever. And I thought it'd be fun to talk to you about some of that stuff because obviously it's something that you think a lot about too.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it's way easier for you to give me advice than it is for me to give myself advice. The same way it's easier for me to give you advice than it is for me to take my
Correct.
own advice, you know?
Correct.
So
100%.
yeah.
Okay, so let's back all the way up to Steve came over. Steve lives nearby, right? Steve lives like
Yeah,
20 minutes away.
he's about 20 minutes away.
Okay,
Yep.
so y'all live in the same town. You just got a new house. You have a new space where you can record. So that's kind of the physical setup. So in terms of like let's see. In terms of YouTube for Tailwind and YouTube for Adam, it does sound like, and I think you've known this for a while, and I think I have known this for a while. You need a new challenge. You said that. And I think that's
Yeah.
been true for more
Number
than a
of
year.
years.
Yeah.
Number of years.
So you need something new to like to put all that Adam Wathan energy into.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you've been pushing that Tailwind boulder up the hill for a long time, successfully and well, but it does feel like you like to build stuff. We got to get you building something. So I totally vibe with that, and I agree that that is pretty important for you. You were taking a
Yeah.
breath. What do you want to say?
No, I gotta breathe sometimes. I am a
Okay, that's
human
fair.
being.
Okay, well, when I'm talking, try not to breathe. Okay, so you gotta have a new challenge. I guess my question is for the YouTube stuff, are you thinking of this as like potentially the next thing, or this will help you find the next thing that is not next, like moving on from Tailwind, but Tailwind adjacent outlet? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit of both. Like there's some obvious moves, I think. And then there's some just sort of hoping that doing something different means I'm going to bump into different problems. And I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think there's going to be that thing where I'm like, how are people building or how are people doing YouTube
Mm-hmm.
channels solving this problem? And it turns out no one's solving it and everyone's just quietly grumpy about it, but no one's done anything about it. And then you
Yep.
get excited to solve that, that seems to happen to me a lot. So
It does.
I don't know what that could be, but I expect that that'll happen. It's I think of it almost like a luck surface area thing, but it's not luck. It's just like a problem exposure surface area thing.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just need to do stuff to find out what to do, you know?
Yes. So your hope is that the YouTube channel puts you in motion and on a good path for bumping into opportunities, but also having a lot of fun.
Also, I think it'll
along the
just
way.
be fun on its own. Like there's
Yeah.
plenty of stuff for us to just do that we need to do already that will be more fun if we're making content out of
Right.
it too. And it's just a good excuse to hang out in person
Mhm.
and work on stuff together. And like we've been ramping up to do like a paid Tailwind course or UI course or something,
Mhm.
just because the whole business model is this like one-time purchase Tailwind Plus thing, which is works great for us, but also means like those people can't pay us for
Right.
anything else ever again. It'd be nice to come up with something that feels different enough from that some percentage of those people would be interested in. And in general, it'd just be nice to have more than one thing on the website to sell because Tailwind CSS
Yeah.
just gets so much traffic. It's just kind of silly if there's only one thing that we sell on that website. It just seems like the most high leverage thing that we could do. Although it could be totally wrong about that. I feel like I've been wrong about a lot of things that seem obvious to me lately. So
You
we'll
only have
see.
to be right about a few, so that's fine. What happens with explain to me this email course that you did. So it was like a 6-7 video thing, and how
Yeah,
did
yep.
that go down? Because you said not great, but let's
Yeah,
hear about that.
I just did a podcast with Justin and Jackson and Brian Castle that went deeper into it, but I'll recap here. Basically, we did
theirs
this.
isn't out yet, so we're gonna scoop them. So this is perfect for me.
So basically, we did this thing. I got the inspiration was I was talking to somebody else about their product and talking about like we got into this conversation of how to sort of make something work beyond the launch, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you need like some way of finding new people and being able to like convince those people to buy. Because a lot of stuff that I've done, a lot of stuff people who do similar things to me have done, you get this big spike at the beginning and then it sort of dies off. Other than people just randomly stumbling across the website. So
Mm-hmm.
I suggested this idea of like an email sequence that has some value on its own because that becomes this sort of like mini evergreen launch machine because you get people in this sequence of however many emails and they're getting sort of warmed up for a pitch eventually, right? It's like a pretty standard sort of marketing playbook, works pretty well. And I thought, that's kind of silly that I'm giving this advice to somebody else and we're not doing anything like that. So I just started thinking, what could we do that could get people to give us their email address, give them some value, hopefully earn their sort of trust and make them think that we're good at what we're doing, and then let them know about something that we have for sale and they can decide if they want to buy it or not. And with any luck, they'll be more inclined to buy it after us sort of demonstrating our expertise than they would be
Mm-hmm.
just kind of browsing the website cold, you know? So we did this email course called Build UIs That Don't Suck, where kind of the structure of it is I basically take some UI pattern or demo or something that's based on something in Tailwind UI, now Tailwind Plus, and I basically show you the broken way to build it that a lot of people would do, and then iteratively improve it and eventually get to a solution that I think a lot of people wouldn't be familiar with and sort of think, man, that's clever. This is really cool. I'm excited to do this in my own projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and then in the course, it kind of like pitches you on Tailwind Plus a couple times. I think like the third email and the fifth email. So we put that out there. It's still averaging like 400 to 500 signups per day right now,
Good
which is
grief.
pretty insane, right?
That's amazing
It is amazing in terms of signups,
in terms of
but we've only
signups.
had 25 sales from like
Okay.
16 or 17,000 signups,
Okay.
which was sort of soul crushing because I was sort of thinking, if we're getting 500 people signing up, even 1% of that would be 5 extra sales per day, which would be like
Right.
very significant for the business. And instead, it's like a sale every couple days, which
Yeah.
is over
Brutal.
the course of the year, it's not nothing. It's probably a couple $100,000,
It was a good. It was a good return for a week's worth of effort, but not what
we'll
you were
get the
hoping.
return on it, but I was a little disappointed that it wasn't. When we were working on it, we were like, man, we're so stupid for not doing this before. Like, this is going to be really big for us. And it just didn't really play out that way.
Yeah.
But people really liked the videos. I got lots of positive comments on that. Really enjoyed doing the videos. And my next hypothesis, which could be wrong, but the next thing to test is maybe a free video course works better as a funnel for a paid video course than it does for like a collection of UI components and templates and stuff
Right.
like that, you know? So that's where we were going to get into doing this like paid course as the next kind of commercial thing anyways. And maybe we'll pivot this free email course to end up being more of a pitch for that instead of a pitch for Tailwind Plus, maybe a bit of both, maybe a bundle, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember why we were talking about this, but that's the state of things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just asking because you mentioned briefly that you were not happy with it. So I was wondering kind of how it all went down.
Mhm.
That's a lot of emails to be getting a day. So that's great news. Maybe the offer was not right for the audience. But like you said, you can find the one that works. But that's incredible, the amount of emails you're getting per day.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's got to be something we can do with that,
Yeah. And if
But
the promise of the email list is like Adam will teach you stuff by video, that seems like a pretty good sign to me that people would pay for stuff where you teach them on video. So that's
I think,
I like
yeah.
that hypothesis.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like there's a good chance it'll be better. How much
Yeah.
better? Not sure. But does seem like the right next thing to try for sure.
Yeah. So this video course,
Uh-huh.
what is it more of that? Is it more practical build UIs that don't suck? Is it
TBD.
Tailwind documentation?
TBD. I
Okay.
have been thinking about it a bunch. I have a bunch of different ideas for it. I'm not totally sure yet.
Okay.
My gut is not to do like the Tailwind documentation thing. I think if we're going to do anything like that, I kind of like the idea. The idea I have in my head is like Tailwind CSS by example. So instead of Tailwind CSS by API reference,
Right.
it's more just like learn Tailwind by building things instead of learn Tailwind by reading through a list of the features and what the features do. So it's sort of like rotating the educational path 90 degrees and teaching that to you in video form. I think that could be good. Sometimes I'm second guessing if it should even really be like Tailwind on the tin or if it just should just be more about building high quality user interfaces. And of course we use Tailwind because what else are you going to use? So that's TBD. That is something that I'm trying to figure out. I'd be curious what your instincts are though, because I know you've been talking a lot about lately about getting more into beginner focused stuff and
Mm-hmm.
less on the intermediate advanced stuff. And my instincts are very much still to target the intermediate advanced stuff personally.
It's a lot more fun and it's a lot more personally edifying for me to teach the intermediate to advanced stuff. It's just way more interesting for me. And I feel like there is a lot of beginner level stuff out there, not just in like the sequel world, but just in the world. Everybody has a beginner intro course. And so I like the, hey, you're a 4, 5, 6 on the expert level. Let's get you up to 7, 8, 9. That's super fun for me. We have a lot of people that just like need the basics. I log on every day and somebody on Twitter is like, oh, I just, added an index to my database. And did y'all know it makes it faster? And I'm like, guys, I
These
gotta
people
teach
that are in
spin.
your audience already though, do you
Yeah,
think?
many of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
because
think,
that's what I've always wondered. I've always kind of assumed like if someone knows about you because of
mhm,
database stuff, they must have some existing knowledge. Because otherwise, you're competing with like people searching for MySQL free tutorial, and they
yes,
have no idea where they're looking. They don't know any
correct.
names in the space.
Or they're just
And
going to
that
Udemy and they go to Udemy and see a $9 course, and then they come to,
yeah.
whatever mine is and see a $99 course. And they're like, I'm not doing this.
So it
Um,
kind of feels to me like building stuff for that audience is not as simple as just building stuff for that audience. It also means like developing a very different distribution strategy.
Yeah, it might be a very different distribution strategy. I think so Steve and I talk a lot about we've done the hard part first, which is I think when the hearts and minds of the intermediates and the advanced people. And so part of my hope is that by offering an introductory outlet, um that kind of excuse me, that reputation kind of like trickles down. And so we actually sell a lot inside of companies, and so
Uh-huh.
my hope is that inside of a company, if somebody is just starting, they can be either directed to mastering Postgres or just enough Postgres, and people inside the
Yeah,
company
yeah,
will say
yeah.
like, hey, this
That
is
makes
this is a
sense.
trusted instructor. Or if they go and land on mastering Postgres and are like, whoa, this is awesome and intense, this is above me, they have downsells to just enough
Yeah.
Postgres by the same instructor. And so we will still totally play on personal brand, but we're also hoping that like the brand or like the gravitas of the courses themselves will lend to some downselling on trust, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes
And I
sense.
think I think some I feel probably the same or similar about your audience. I mean, yours is so much bigger, so it's going to be naturally more dispersed, but I feel like there are maybe 50 people in your audience that know CSS like you do, right? And they're like half of them
Yeah.
work at Vercel. And so I feel like those are the people that you kind of like rub elbows with and you're like chatting with on Twitter, like, hey, can you tell the Chrome internal team to fix this OKCLH bug? And they're
Yeah.
like, sure, let me go talk to my friend. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
this is way up here. This is way
Sure.
up here. So I think if you take that Adam Wathan brand and come down and, yuck it up with the normies, I feel like that's going to go pretty well for you. I think one question I have, and I have my answer for you, but one question I have for you is what do you think you and Steve, what do you think your competitive advantage is?
Two things. Distribution is a huge one
Yep,
because
that was one
the
of mine.
website gets insane amount of traffic.
Uh-huh.
And then I think design is the other
That was
one.
my other one.
Yeah.
I was going to say for you, distribution and taste. That was going to
Yeah.
be the two.
Yeah.
And so my question then to follow on to that is like, what things most flex those two unfair advantages? Like what
Yeah.
things most take advantage of distribution and taste? And video
Yeah.
courses probably, top
I think
five. But
video
is there anything
courses
else?
yeah, what else? I mean, the only other idea that even comes to mind for me if we want to like take a big swing with the business is some sort of AI UI
Mm-hmm.
ideation thing that using knowledge and technology and skills I don't have is
Mm-hmm.
like trained on our taste
Yep.
somehow, you know?
Yeah.
Not the first clue about how you even do anything like that, But something like that would be cool, I think. Other than that, I really don't know. Like, we did the Catalyst UI kit thing, which was another thing that I sort of had high hopes for and didn't
Mm-hmm.
really make a noticeable difference
Mm.
for us. And that was a bit of a bet on taste in terms of design, but also API design.
Yep. Which is
Um,
another thing you're quite good at.
it's a struggle though, because it's like the market is flooded with free alternatives to that. There's
Yep.
some percentage of people that want to pay for the premium thing. And I could be convinced to just only build something for that segment
Yeah.
too. Or to do like a free thing, kind of like Caleb did with like Flux 2, where there's
Yep.
like a Catalyst Essentials or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like the premium thing with some extra stuff.
Does
Could
any
do
of that
something
make you
like
happy
that.
at all, Catalyst? Thinking about doing that in the future?
Not at the moment, because it
Okay.
was a grind. It was
Kind of
like
a gut
some
punch.
of the hardest work I've ever done. Just paralyzing decision making for
Yeah.
like 9 months is like, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to just do something that was execution. I think
Okay.
outside of that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any ideas that feel like they take advantage of that stuff in an incredibly great way. Like, we could build something totally different and just hope to take advantage of audience and distribution and
Sure.
taste. Like, I've always thought it'd be fun to just do like a better version of another thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
example I've talked about in the past is something Ian talked about too, was like the what do you call it? Like the applicant tracking app, like a
Yeah. Yeah.
workable
Yeah. Yeah.
competitor or something. Because when we were hiring, we were using that app. I wanted to blow my brains out. It just felt like sexy workable feels like a great thing to
Yep.
build. I feel like linear as a business is just sexy Jira.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There is it's something you can compete on for sure, but uh, how uniquely positioned are we to compete on that? Like, if I put an ad on the Tailwind CSS docs for like a project management tool that we build, some percentage of people may be curious about it. It's not exactly the perfect fit for
Right.
that audience necessarily. Is it better than trying to build a SaaS with no audience and
You
absolutely
better
nothing?
believe it.
Of course it is,
Yep.
So and maybe it's better enough to be like the right platform to kick off from. And I haven't sort of like closed my mind to that idea
Mm-hmm.
either. Right. I've kind of got it in my head that something I want to like do more of going forward is overinvest in custom solutions for little problems for ourselves that have basically no ROI,
Mm-hmm.
no direct ROI, in hopes that maybe kind of like Tailwind in the first place,
Yep.
the market tells me they're more interested in it than I think.
Mm-hmm.
We did like an event in Miami when we had our team retreat there, and we were looking around for like tools, like Eventbrite type tools,
Yeah.
just to put together a page to collect RSVPs for an event. Didn't really like anything out there. Is it worth us building a whole SaaS for that event? No, but I'm kind of changing my mind on that now, that not worth it from a business perspective. Is it worth it? Is it still a good use of my time? Not from a financial perspective, but from a I'm going to have a lot of fun perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe something will come from it. And if we're doing YouTube stuff, then building real stuff and sharing it along the way on YouTube, potentially building a new audience there that funnels into courses, stuff like that. It all kind of feels like it can work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe something comes out of one of those ideas, even though the point of building them isn't for them to make money. The point of building them is to run into interesting problems and have cool things to talk about that lend points to courses or leads people to Tailwind Plus or who knows what.
So I forgot to say, your third great strength is that you have a low tolerance for pain and you don't like most things. So you can see the problems with
I think that's
everything.
taste related, but yeah.
That is taste, yeah. Okay, so here's a question for you. You have massive distribution. That's the statement. Here's the question. You have massive distribution. Would going on YouTube get you more distribution? And is that necessary? Or would something like you might remember back in the day, Ruby Tapas, something like that. So less of like a Laracasts where you're doing like a in-house learning thing, and more of like a, hey, I'm Adam. Every once a week I put out a video about building practical
Yeah.
UIs or whatever. You pay me monthly, which I don't know if MRR is a goal, but it's
Yeah.
something
I'm
you
not
mentioned at
sure
the
if it is
beginning.
either. I have a Yeah, but continue.
But do you like the question, I guess, is you've got this massive distribution engine. Do you take that and funnel it to another distribution play, which is YouTube? And then as you're doing that, you're bumping into things that then could be the back end of like this long chain of distribution? Or do you take the YouTube and set it aside and say, like, no, this is the back end for this distribution engine, and it's, you know, Adam Weekly or whatever you call it, right? You don't have to use that name, but if you do, that's fine. 10% is good. So like, does that make sense? Like, where do you draw the line for this is back end money making versus let's just keep building distribution?
Yeah, you mean as in like try to turn the YouTube stuff into its own sort of new source of business
Well,
with
I
maybe
mean,
like some other
instead of focusing on YouTube, focus on putting all of that video energy into
something that
basically a
we
paid
distribute
platform.
using the
Yeah.
existing
Mm-hmm.
distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think that is definitely something to consider. I'll say if Business Dad was here, he would say more traffic is always good. The advice he's
He
always
would.
given me anytime I've talked to him about the Tailwind
Mm-hmm.
stuff is you just need more traffic, more traffic. You got 10 million people visiting the site every month
Mm-hmm.
right now. If you get that to 20 million, you'll make more money, you know?
He would
Um,
absolutely say that. Yeah.
that's what he would say. So I do think there's an element of that. Like something I was thinking about with the free email course that we did is even though most of the people who signed up, like 80+%, were not people who have already purchased Tailwind
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the distribution for the email course is the Tailwind website, which also happens to be the same distribution channel for Tailwind Plus. It's sort of hard to find out about the course without already knowing about Tailwind Plus. Potentially have already just made up your mind about whether you're going to buy it or not. And this email course is unlikely to do too much to persuade you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd even talked about like, it'd be, as an experiment, if we pushed this email course with Instagram ads or something and tried to get it in front of people who haven't seen Tailwind Plus, maybe it would convert better there. So it sort of becomes the same sort of thing. Maybe YouTube will help us find people who I don't know. It's hard to say. Have they never heard of Tailwind? Have they never been to the Tailwind docs? Seems unlikely.
Unlikely at this point.
But I'll say the other thing that I learned from doing this email course is I I was wondering when this moment would come, and it was never clear to me when it had happened, but it appears that it has happened. I am not associated with Tailwind just broadly to the average Tailwind user.
Wow.
So many people use Tailwind who have no clue that I exist or who I am. That's what I kind of learned from this course. There was so much feedback on it from like YouTube comments and email responses and stuff that was like, holy crap, you're the guy who made Tailwind? This is awesome. You know? And it's like, huh, that's kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Because yeah, maybe there's that sort of building educational stuff by the creator of Tailwind that hasn't really been milked, properly yet.
Yeah.
So maybe there is something with some brand building there that wouldn't necessarily lead to more Tailwind Plus sales or whatever, but can lean on that authority that we have from building Tailwind itself and turn that into something else.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with the YouTube stuff is like it kind of is just fun to build stuff for YouTube.
I guess so. Take that.
Go ahead.
Take that. It's kind of just fun to build stuff for YouTube, and then play out this scenario for me. So it's kind of just fun to build stuff for YouTube. What if you had all that fun building all these practical things, doing the fun lighting setup? Steve's there. Y'all are both doing stuff. And then as a thought experiment, instead of putting it on YouTube, you put it on, the Tailwind members only platform, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're kind of on the hook, which I think is something to consider, but you're on the hook for, let's say, one video a week. Yeah. And, you price it accordingly. And so I guess my thing that I want you to spin out is like, does that still have all the fun of doing YouTube? It's like you get to build kind of wacky stuff and give it to a bunch of people, except now they're paying you for it.
I think it has some of it. I think there's some things that would be fun to do that almost feel more suited for YouTube than they do for a paid thing. Me and Steve were sort of talking about, I kind of believe that like YouTube is an entertainment platform more than it is an education platform.
100%.
So there's this channel that I really love called Drumeo. I don't know if you've
Okay.
ever seen this.
Mm-mm.
I don't think you're much of a music guy,
No, I'm not.
but it's basically they bring in like famous drummers and they
Mhm.
do different things with them. So one of the ones that they do, for example, is they might bring in like the drummer from Fall Out Boy or something, and they'll find a
Mhm.
song he's never heard before.
I think you've tweeted one of these, and I watched
Yeah,
one. They're
yeah, yeah.
super cool.
And he'll have to listen to it without the drums, and he has to
Mhm.
like make up his own drum part and try and play along with it. And then when he's done, they show him the original, and it's like, man, I played this halftime the whole time, and it was it's just like super entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So me and Steve were trying to think, what's like the Drumeo of like UI in terms of like a YouTube channel?
Cool.
Maybe it's like Steve gives me a design, and I have to like build the whole thing in code without ever checking it in the browser and see like how close I got at the end. And then maybe I fix it up and clean it up or whatever. But like what are just like fun,
Mhm.
entertaining things like that? Or Steve gets to like, we find some new website that came out that's really cool. And Steve has like 5 minutes to like look at it and try to like memorize the details and then like
Cool.
recreate it in Figma from memory.
It's great
It's
content.
not educational,
No,
but
it's not.
entertaining. But maybe
Yep.
it's a funnel for something educational, stuff like that. I don't know is the right thing for people to pay for, but I think we would have a lot of fun doing it. But I think there could also be like a lot of people's YouTube business model is kind of YouTube is the distribution for like
Yes.
YouTube
For some
Plus,
back end. Yeah.
where there's
Yeah.
like you get longer videos that have a little bit more. Like if there's a weekly Q&A video, maybe the members only one answers 15 questions instead of 10.
Right.
Or there's maybe you can only contribute to the Q&A if you're
Mhm.
whatever. I was thinking I really liked doing like live streams. So I used to do a lot
Yeah.
more live streaming. Maybe there is like a subscribe to our premium version of like the YouTube channel where you get like the back catalog of streams, but you can only watch the streams live or
Pay to watch the
or
old
pay to
stuff.
watch the old ones,
Yeah, I
like
like
something
that. Yeah.
Or another thing was if I'm building a design that Steve gives me and I'm like making a YouTube video where I build it, if you want the code and the Figma file,
Mhm.
that's only for subscribers or whatever,
Mhm.
so you can watch the content for free, but if you want the Figma file yourself, so you can kind of look at how Steve puts it together, or you want to look at the code and play with it after, that's only available to subscribers. Like I put a lot of effort into sort of studying how people do things outside of sort of the programming world and try to take inspiration
Smart.
from that.
Mhm.
And this music especially is like a big inspiration for me. And this is how a lot of people trying to make a living as like a guitar player, they'll learn songs by ear and record a video of them playing along to it. And it's like, if you want the transcribed version of this, like you have to subscribe to my Patreon or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'll send you the music that you can play along to or whatever, stuff like that. So I'm always looking for like corollaries like that we can sort of apply. But to get back to your point, this is something I've been trying to think about is what is the back end for this? Is the idea to use this as distribution for the existing stuff?
Right.
Is the idea to find new stuff to do with it? Or is the idea to just do it with the existing stuff as the back end and expect that good ideas will come, which I
Yep.
think is likely the case also. So I'm kind of open to all of it, I guess is the point.
So I feel like two things are coalescing, or maybe opposite of that, diverging here. One would be YouTube becomes top of funnel for stuff you're already doing.
Yeah.
Or maybe goodness, or YouTube becomes a fun mechanism by which you discover a way to do something new. And I guess those aren't entirely discrete, because in the meantime, it could be the top of funnel for the back end you already have, which is Tailwind Plus. I agree with you that type of like super fun kind of in educational but more like entertaining stuff that belongs on YouTube. That's going to go far and wide. If somebody's paying for education from Adam Wathan, they're not going to want to see funny stuff. They're going to want to see like, hey, watch me build this thing and these tricks. So that definitely I think should go on YouTube. Do you want MRR? Is that something that like you're pining for?
I want MRR. I don't want monthly. I want monthly recurring revenue. don't really want monthly recurring responsibility. You
Yeah,
know,
I knew it. I knew you were going to get there somehow. That's amazing. So the content treadmill seems maybe spiritually unaligned then.
the paid content treadmill,
Yeah.
the free content treadmill doesn't
You don't know
bother me as
anybody anything
much.
at that point. Yeah.
I could just stop, you
You
know.
can.
But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of MRR. Who doesn't like the idea
Mhm.
of MRR? And I do like the idea of building a software product that has MRR.
Mhm.
But if I really think hard about it, I have a hard time convincing myself I like the idea of running that business. I like the
Sure.
idea of building that product. I don't like the idea of feeling like I'm going to need to like hire and manage a bunch of support people, that I'm going to have to
Mhm.
stress about losing someone's data in some technical issue where
Mhm.
we like if the Tailwind UI database got nuked, doesn't matter at all. Basically,
Yep.
you know what I mean? We can reconstruct it from a CSV from Paddle, you know, no
Yep.
big deal. Everyone has access to the same stuff. No one has data in there. It's all fine. But if you're building accounting software or project management software, or I don't know, it's just like, I got a good life. Our business does
Yep.
well. Is that something I really want to sign up for just because I like the idea of building tools and creating user experiences and stuff, which I really enjoy that? Or is the better path there what I was talking about before, where it's like Adam needs a meetup app, Adam builds a meetup app, you
Right.
know? And maybe like the mechanism for releasing that is not ever as a SaaS. It's, and this is something that we're kind of working on right now. It's we strip it down and throw it into Tailwind Plus as a template or a kit or something. Like for this paid course, the first thing that I'm doing, which is not the smart thing to do, but I've passed the point in my life where I need to do the smart thing first,
A true
is
luxury
building
to be able to do the fun thing
to do the
first.
fun thing first, is building like a course platform, right? You
Yep.
know, as much as
Obviously.
anybody, there's no
Obviously.
such thing as an existing course platform that is
Oh,
useful to
they're all
anyone. It
terrible.
must
They're
be
all
custom.
terrible.
It must be
Yes.
custom. So we're building that. And our goal for the end of April is to release that as like a course platform starter kit on
Love
Tailwind
it.
Plus, because whatever, it's sawdust from the thing that we're already
Of course.
doing, you know? And I get all the satisfaction out of like sweating over all the details and making it nice and stuff like
Yep.
that, with none of the responsibility of making sure that it works.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But it also kind of feels like a cop out sometimes too, and it kind of like gives me a bit of imposter syndrome to feel like I'm never going to build like a real software business, you know? And to feel like, am I doing that by choice, or am I doing it because, or am I not doing it by choice, or am I not doing it because I can't, you know? So I don't know. It's something I think about a lot for sure.
So let me ask about this course platform and the process there. But before I do that, let me tell you about this week's sponsors. It's pretty good. This week, the show is sponsored by Bento. Bento is the transactional and marketing email service provider that we use at TryHard Studios, run by our friend Jesse Hanley. You can find more at bentonow.com. This week is also sponsored by WorkOS AuthKit. Laravel 12's new starter kits includes WorkOS AuthKit. Future-proof your authentication stack with the identity layer trusted by OpenAI, Cursor, Perplexity, and Vercel. You can find more about that at workos.com. So thank you to Bento and WorkOS for sponsoring the show.
Side note, okay, this is kind of related to the WorkOS sponsor thing, because it is kind of related to what we were talking about. I would just like to contribute to the conversation of the WorkOS starter kit drama, as like
we love a conversation, especially
as
around
an
drama.
outsider with insider information.
Okay.
Literally, you know, a lot of people sort of speculated that because like Excel is an investor in Laravel, they're also an investor in
dark
WorkOS.
Money, obviously.
Oh, there's like some partnership shit going on there. I was literally like, me and Taylor, I would say Taylor Otwell is my best friend. Okay. And he just messaged me on Telegram one day and he was like, dude, I've been playing with this like Work OS auth thing. I think this is pretty cool. I think I might put it in a starter kit. Like I could screenshot this history for you. No communication had ever happened with anyone at Work OS about any sort of dark deal partnership. It was literally Taylor just playing with it and thinking, I think I would want to use this. And I was asking him like, well, why would you use it if like if all this stuff is like built into Laravel already? And he's like, well, it actually isn't built into Laravel already. There's a lot of stuff here like if you have an account and you log in from America and then 10 minutes later someone logs in with your username and password from the Philippines, it blocks it. Laravel doesn't do that for you.
No,
There's like all this stuff
Kinda
like
hard,
built in.
yeah.
And I don't know. Taylor thought it was cool. So any conversations that happened about turning into a marketing strategic thing, 100% happened after Taylor had already built it because he liked it for himself. So anyways, but also I played with it for this course thing because I was trying to figure out, should I build something myself or should I use something like the Work OS thing? And it's actually like really slick. And I actually really like their business model for it too. It's like, the amount of users and stuff that you get for free is not prohibitive at all. Like it's basically good enough for anyone, but they just charge you like $100 a month if you want like the password reset emails and stuff to come from your domain, which I think is like such a smart thing to bill for because it's just like anyone building like a side project that is 100% a compromise that they just don't care about. It's like, oh, I can use this for free and like the emails come from workos.com. Whoop de fucking do. Like that's fine. Every single real business on earth, however, 100% wants it to come from their own domain. So it's like they immediately pay, and also
pretty smart.
The cost doesn't really scale with the number of users. It's just like $100 a month. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this is like eating into our bottom line. Like we got to get off this thing or whatever. So I don't know. I thought it was a pretty smart segmentation there and a pretty fair thing. I always notice interesting ways that how do people slice things, and I thought that was a clever one because everyone else is just like some user limits or features or whatever. That one just was like, I thought that was really clever. So however, for the course platform thing, we are going to build our own auth again because it will be hard and fun, and that's the only reason.
Let's do that. Where are the live streams of you building this course platform?
I basically haven't started it yet. Steve has been designing it.
Oh, you haven't started the platform yet. Got it. You haven't started your part of the work. I see.
Yeah, I haven't built any UI. The only thing I did was I spent like a morning with Philip on our team just trying to build like a proof of concept for like a one-time password authentication system. Cool. Just to tickle my brain because I was trying to think like, how should that even work? And I've kind of really been, what is it? Is it black pilled? What's the one that means I like it?
I think that's the one that means like you have finally realized how good it is or something like that.
One-time passwords that are sent to you via email. Like magic links, those are cool. One-time passwords sent to you via email, extremely cool though. And the reason is, okay, so this is why. In our Tesla, there's a screen in the back where the kids can watch Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, right? Those apps both aggressively log me out all the time in the car. Typing in my email and full crazy obscure password on that screen, total nightmare, right? Magic link though also sucks because if I get a magic link sent to me from the Tesla and I click the magic link from my phone, it logs me in on the phone, not on the car.
Okay, all right.
6-digit one-time password. All I have to type is like my email address in the screen, which is quite easy. And then I just 061242 and I'm logged in, right? And that's super easy to do in the car. So
yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good use case. Pretty good use case.
And I guess as a technical challenge, though, it's kind of fun to think about, like, how do you do that in a secure way? Because the naive approach is thinking, okay, well, you request a one-time password. We put a one-time password in the one-time passwords database. And now there's a screen for redeeming a one-time password. You type in the 6-digit code. We look up, where's the thing that has that code? And we log you in as that person. You think about that for about 5 seconds and you realize that's like terrible because how hard is it to like brute force a 6-digit numeric thing? If you can just go to a screen and type in 6 digits over and over again and eventually be logged in as someone,
Yeah.
That's kind of dark, right?
Yeah, that's like the
So
birthday problem. It doesn't take very many one-time
no,
passwords to
no.
be in the database to hit one.
Yeah. So it was just like an interesting thing to think about. Like, okay, well, maybe. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, do you rate limit it? Well, maybe that's one piece of it. Is there any way to do it that's like stateless? And I don't know. It's a really interesting thing to sort of think about the right way to do. And I don't know what the accepted best practice is, but thinking about it from first principles, I started thinking, okay, well, I typed my email address in. Maybe when you type in the one-time password, there should be like a hidden field on the page that has your email address pre-filled so that when you're submitting the one-time password, you're actually submitting the email address it's for at the same time.
Yeah.
Because now you can't just like randomly guess any password. So that's going
Mm-hmm.
to give you like a little bit of an extra layer of protection. And then the other thing I got to thinking, well, was you could also put like a session key in like the one time in the hidden input or something and
Mm-hmm.
put that in the database too. So now literally to log in with this one time password, it'll literally only work from the device that requested it.
Yeah,
And now that's like a lot more
that
secure too.
seems great. Yep.
There's probably more stuff to think about, but and I also got to thinking, well, if your session is encrypted in your cookie, maybe you don't even need to put the one-time password in the database at all. Maybe you just generate it and store it encrypted in the cookie that you send back to the user, and now it's like a totally stateless thing. It sounds a little scarier because
It
potentially someone
does.
could decrypt the cookie, but if people can decrypt cookies in your app, like
You're
you're
kind of hosed
kind of in
anyway.
trouble
Yeah.
anyways. So I don't know. It was a super interesting thing to just think about from first principles. Again, could have just used WorkOS, could have had all those problems solved for me. Was really tempting to, but I just was saying to myself, like, if I always do the easy thing, like I'm just not gonna have a satisfying life.
Mm.
So that's kind of a side quest there, but it was fun getting into some of that stuff. Kind of a fun problem. Would be a fun thing to do a live stream on too.
Would be a great thing to do a live stream on. But when it's your turn, so when Steve's done and it's your turn, I think you got to fire up the live streams. I think
100%. I got to get back into it. And I'm
yeah.
excited. Like, we're setting up my house now. We're like, this room that we're in, this is going to be the studio. There will be no work that happens here except
Cool.
recording. I ordered 2 studio displays this morning. I'm going to order a Mac Studio or a Mac Mini. It's going to just be a workstation that's purely set up for recording. Me and Steve are going to be working over in the other room. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
So it sounds like you have something coming up where you kind of get to execute at least the first part of both strategies, which is just like go on YouTube, right? So you're going to be building out this course platform. So you get to go on YouTube, which makes you happy. It also builds distribution. And if you're building out this course platform, that leads me to believe the course is going to happen. And that is a new, back end. That's a new way to monetize the distribution.
Totally.
And so you're not yet signing up for monthly recurring responsibilities because you'll live stream and do videos whenever you want. And a course is a discrete unit of work that is finishable, which is the best part about courses.
And if the course is couple $100 on a website and the website gets 10 million visits a month, don't really need monthly recurring revenue.
Correct.
It will make plenty of money.
And so along the way, you might bump into something that is a half step outside of Tailwind / pure content play.
Yeah.
And you could go down that rabbit hole.
It's just exposing your senses to the world, I will say the thing I'm still paralyzed on in terms of strategy is what to do. What is the channel? Because Steve has a YouTube channel. He's got like 40,000 subscribers from just doing 5 videos years ago. Okay.
One of those videos was the company. It was me.
I know. It was you. You were like one of the first ones. It's you're everywhere, man.
I'm everywhere.
You've been around.
Steve Shoger. So Steve Shoger, he's got like 42.6.
5 or 6 videos, right? And people loved him. And they're totally terrible by modern YouTube standards, I think. Like all the thumbnails are just like the exact same template and whatever.
Yeah. And they're like super thoughtful and not like hype and
yeah. And he wants to get back into doing those, but I want to get back into doing my stuff. I have a YouTube channel where I did all my live streams and a bunch of stuff like that. That's got a similar number of subscribers to Steve's. But the Tailwind Labs YouTube channel has like 100,000 subscribers.
Okay, so I got some numbies here. Steve Shoger, 42,000. You're right. He's got very few videos, and they're all, the latest one is from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So then we've got Adam Wathan, 38,000. Let's see, the latest video. Latest video was with Sam Selikoff 4 months ago, but before that was 5 years ago. And then no, we're just reading straight numbers.
My
no
live
judgment.
streams are more frequent, more
Okay,
recent
there we
than
go.
that, but yeah, still.
And Labs is the handle for this one. It is 101,000. Congrats on the silver plaque. I see it over your shoulder there. And then latest video 3 weeks ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So they're
Pretty
all
bad.
kind of in the similar state of
Barely maintained.
Of like disrepair.
Yeah.
Huge numbers. So we have 3 properties at our disposal. Talk me through the calculus. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So this is
how have you thought about this?
The ways I've thought about it. Number one, what makes more sense? Growing 2 channels or growing 1 channel? I feel like I can make arguments for both. If you can grow 2 channels, well, that's 2 entry points into your world, and maybe they can be different styles and sort of have different focuses. Struggle with, and those 2 channels in my mind would be Adam's channel and Steve's channel, because I do think the personal brand stuff is important. And that's, I think, the advice that I gave you too, when you were trying to decide what you and Steve should do.
Very good advice.
But the downside is, what about the inevitable ambiguous content where we can't decide where it should go? Upside, the Adam Wathan channel feels like it can be about basically anything that I'm interested in. I could literally do a video that's like a fitness video if I wanted to.
You could do a drumming video,
Yeah, I could do all sorts of weird stuff. And I think if people are interested in me as a person, like, yes, it'll be 99% UI front end programming stuff, but then like a little bit of like, here's my desk setup or whatever. People love learning about that type of stuff, whatever, right? But yeah, the ambiguous video content thing is kind of unfortunate. Also kind of unfortunate that the Tailwind Labs channel has the biggest head start and we wouldn't be using it. Other option is go all in on 1 channel together. Logical thing to do would be to use the Tailwind channel that already has the existing audience. Downsides, number one, I really hate it branded as Tailwind Labs. That's like following Microsoft. It's kind of shitty. And I thought about this really hard for a while because I really like the personal brand thing. How do you do a personal brand that's 2 people? Me and Steve even talked about it. Do we call the channel Adam and Steve? Maybe. But the more I thought about it and the more examples I looked at, I think I found how to make it work, which is channels that are named after companies suck. Channels that are named like a show, good.
Great. We love a show.
So I don't even know like what some good examples of that are, but there's definitely a bunch of like hot ones on YouTube. No one has to know the name of the guy who does it, but it still feels like a thing you'd follow. It's not like where I'm just going to get like corporate commercials like the Apple YouTube channel or something like that. It feels like a show. It doesn't feel like a company. So maybe we can turn Tailwind Labs into a show. And I think to do that, it has to not be called Tailwind anything. And I kind of like the idea of calling the channel Build You Eyes That Don't Suck, which is like the name of the course that we did. It's kind of, the word suck kind of like brings it into like normal human language territory and not like corporate speak. I think we could still do videos on like what's new in Tailwind 4.1 on like the build, like Tailwind could become to be known as like, that's by the Build You Eyes That Don't Suck guys or whatever. And we could put both things on there. Steve could do his refactoring UI videos there. I could do my stuff there. We probably still could do videos like time lapse of us like setting up the new like Tailwind studio, where we like record everything. Could still be fun. It does though still feel like a bit of an uphill battle compared to just my name or Steve's name. But it also feels like, not that I actually have any interest in doing this, but it is a bit more sellable. It's a brand and it still feels like a pretty personal brand. So I think it could be done, I guess, put it that way. It just becomes a question of like weighing it out and figuring out, are the benefits of going all in on 1 channel, trying to come up with the right brand for it and putting everything in one place? Are they worth it versus the obstacles? And yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious what your outside...
Are you ready for thoughts?
I'm ready for thoughts.
Here are thoughts. Build UIs that don't suck. This to me feels similar to when you were advising us not to go in on like Tryhard Studios is the brand or Database School is a second brand, because you have
Those
built.
sound like company names, though. They don't sound like shows.
Okay, fair. Pressing on. You have built one of the best, biggest brands on the internet. Like,
Yeah.
literally, that's one of the most well-known brands amongst your target audience. And to go and build a second brand and have someone say like, oh yeah, Tailwind is by the Build UIs Don't Suck guys. I don't know that that is ever going to happen. I think it's always and forever going to be, oh, the Tailwind team does this other thing. It's called Build UIs That Don't Suck. Like, you have to search for that.
I think that's probably true. I still think Tailwind Labs as a channel name sucks, though.
That's fine. I will agree. I will cede that territory. I do think Tailwind Labs is not a great growable YouTube name. Many things are true. I think building a completely separate brand isolated from Tailwind strikes me as difficult and unnecessary. Having Tailwind Labs as the channel strikes me as corporate and a little stale. So is there a, Tailwind team, Tailwind Weekly, the Tailwind guys, something like that where it uses the word Tailwind in the middle? So that's thought number one.
The Tailwind guys is not the worst thing, because like the other
it's a glowing endorsement from Adam. Not the worst thing.
Well, the other name that came off the top of my head, like when me and Steve were talking about it originally, when I was just like throwing out like, how do you make it sound personal? I said like a channel like the UI guys would be better than Tailwind Labs. But yeah.
Okay, so keeping on options. I think I like the idea of personalizing the Tailwind Labs channel. I don't, in fact, like the idea of Adam and Steve going all in on the Tailwind, what will become the new Tailwind Labs channel. So I think one thing I know about you is you need a creative outlet. And if you feel constrained by a channel that has to be at least somewhat corporate, that's going to bum you out. And so
do you think why would it have to be corporate? Just because we're putting the word Tailwind in it in this hypothetical scenario?
Yeah, I think because once you and Steve go in on that channel together and keep the name Tailwind, which I think is pretty important in my opinion, then that becomes a corporate asset. Like that becomes like you and Steve are working together on behalf of the company Tailwind, which is bigger than Adam. And so then you want to do like, hey, I just wrote this script to, play my electric drums when whatever. And it's like, that should go on the Adam Wathan channel, but like we abandoned that channel. And so my thought process is there's really good content that you and Steve can do together on the formerly known as Tailwind Labs channel. That also means you could pull in Robin if he wants to do a video and talk about some of the bizarre stuff that he's doing on the engine, right? And Tailwind Labs is a good channel for that because it's the Tailwind guys, right? And so that seems great. But then I honestly think you and Steve keep your own channels and you just pump out basically whatever you want, and it matters way less, but it gives you a lot more enjoyment. And I think observing from the outside, one thing that you super need is momentum and enjoyment, because you get stuck in this loop of like, oh, I'm just working this, Tailwind like channel job. I don't want to do it. It's like, well, what do you want to do? You want to do something crazy? Go do something crazy. That's the Adam we need.
So do you think Steve doing a refactoring UI video goes on the Tailwind channel or the Steve channel?
See, that's an interesting question, because does Steve have other content that is not appropriate for Tailwind guys?
That's kind of all he wants to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other stuff that we'll probably do together, but like that's the thing that he's pumped to get back into doing.
Let me ask you a question back. Does Steve feel like it's important for him to have a Steve channel?
I don't think he's that fussed about it either way. He's excited about doing that specific type of video.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future he'll get excited about like watch me draw Bluey with sidewalk chalk on my driveway.
He's very good at. Yeah. But in that case, I say no. He puts refactoring UI stuff on the new Tailwind channel. So my Steve has no desire to like build a personal brand or like be out front or anything. which has made it very easy for us to just stay under the Aaron Francis umbrella. If he did have that big desire, I would be way more sensitive to like, all right, how do we like get us both out in front? So if your Steve is like, hey, I just want to make the content, man, well, let's put it on the channel that is super aligned with the content and has 100,000 subscribers and is optimized to funnel them all to the money making back end.
Is there a world in your mind where we take that approach psychologically, but instead of me even bothering with a personal channel, that's just the stuff I put on Twitter,
You want to be on YouTube. You've said this many, many, many times.
Yes. But I'm going to have a really hard time knowing what to put on Adam Wathan and what to put on Tailwind, I think.
Okay. Is there a heuristic? Is there a way that we can just say everything goes on one or the other unless it's completely obvious that it should go on the other? Right? Can you just have like a default channel and then a side, like a outlet channel?
Yeah.
So maybe
I guess like the other thing is like I want the company channel. I want to aggressively push it back into the world of being personal and personality driven. And if I have this other outlet for things that are, I feel like that's going to be a magnet for the more personal content, and that it's going to stiffen up the company stuff.
All right, so let's steel man the other side. You and Steve leave your personal channels as is. No need to destroy them, but just leave them as is. And you decide we're going to go all in on the Tailwind corporate channel, which will now be a personal outlet. Does that give you the freedom and flexibility to find joy in that channel? Like if you do want to do a desk tour channel, are you going to feel hamstrung that you can't put that on the Tailwind Labs channel?
No, I think I could. Like that's why I want to turn it into something where I do feel like I can do that, if that makes sense. Where you can have like behind the scenes stuff. Dude, if I could wave a magic wand, perfect world, YouTube rejigs their data model so that a channel is a place that has videos, and videos are made by people, not by the channel.
100% agree. Yes.
Wouldn't that be like life-changing if Steve could post a video on the channel and I could post a video on the channel? It would just be like everything's solved.
Adam, and you could subscribe to Steve.
You could follow me or follow the channel,
Yes, I know. I agree. It'd be awesome. We should do it.
So
Are we doing this? Let's do it. I think that's
YouTube.
I think that's a great, that would be
YouTube
amazing.
2.
That's a great name. That's just right in line with the naming strategy you recommend. Yeah. Huh,
it is.
That's a fun idea.
YouTube 2.
Okay, so swinging, on my opinion, swinging back the other way to we go all in on Tailwind Labs. That might be, so I think one thing you lose there is the personal brand. And if you sell Tailwind, you sell the channel, but you'll be fine. Doesn't matter. You could build up from scratch, no problem. You have the fun opportunity that you and Steve will be in person. And so some of like the channel cohesion stays the same because it's like, hey, we're in the same set, same background. Sometimes we're in the video sitting side by side. That makes it feel very like the Tailwind guys versus, hey, we've got, 4 different contributors who are, recording in their home studios and we just throw stuff on the channel. So I like that. And if you feel comfortable that you'll still have your creative and motivational outlets in that container, I don't think I see any problems with it. My big fear for you is that you do this thing and you end up hating it and you feel trapped by it.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I think the other possible structure is just like Steve just wants to do refactoring UI videos. He can just keep doing refactoring UI videos on his channel. And we literally abandon the Tailwind channel and I just grow my channel under my name. And it's just me. And if I want to say what's new in Tailwind 4.1, it comes from Adam Wathan, the creator of Tailwind, not from the Tailwind guys channel, And it just really doubled down on the personal brand of everything. And that could also work. I think in reality, what that would end up becoming is my channel would very much be like the primary content outlet for the company. And Steve would just have this design stuff on a separate channel. And now we have 2 entry points and we can do some crossover stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe that's honestly totally fine. And growing my channel up to like 100,000 people, I don't really feel too bummed about like, oh, we hit 100K on one and now I gotta like start from scratch. Like it doesn't
You'll be
sound
fine.
like a hard thing to me.
No.
So I don't know, that there's that world for sure too. And then maybe Build UIs Don't Suck is still just a cool brand we save for, like, that could be the paid course. You know what I mean?
Could be the paid course,
I
could
think it's
be
a
a
fun brand,
series of YouTube videos
Yeah.
on one of the channels that is branded with something more recognizable.
Mhm.
I think one of the inversions between you and I is that your company brand is the most recognizable thing in the world, and my personal brand is more recognizable than our company brand, right?
Yeah.
And so like you're operating over in a space where it's like you throw Tailwind on any channel name and only, presumably only y'all
Yeah.
can do it because
Maybe I
of
underestimate that
copyrights.
or undervalue it as
I
like
think
someone
you
who's just
do.
directly involved, and it just doesn't seem as big of a deal to me. But I think
It
that's
is a
bias.
big, that's going to be the easiest, and this may not be what you're optimizing for, but that's going to be the easiest banner to run under because the entire internet is familiar with it.
Yeah. I guess my only fear there is like wanting to outgrow that brand in some way,
That is a viable and open
Because even like
question.
for Factoring UI, like the book, it doesn't really fit in the Tailwind brand at the moment,
Mhm.
Like it was made before Tailwind existed, which
Right.
kind of just like excludes it from being like a Tailwind thing.
Mhm.
Even though it still is. But it's not like the Tailwind guide to UI design or something, it's like a
Which
whole separate thing.
rename it and make it that. I
Nah,
mean, why not?
that's lame, dude. You know what? This is something I've been talking about a lot too. Is like when I was listening to you and Ian talking about goals, and Ian was sort of drilling you on like come up with a goal that isn't just like another way of saying have a lot of money.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And
I want to
it
build a
got
pool. Damn it, that's
yeah
the same thing.
yeah shit. But it got me thinking about that too because it started getting me to think about, I started framing it in my head of like, what are things I'm going to like be mad at myself that I didn't do like later
Oof.
on in life, And
Those are the big questions.
one of those things for me is like doing a physical version of Refactoring UI and
Love
finding
it.
a publisher and putting it in real bookstores with a barcode on it. Is it the best thing to do for business? We probably make
Doesn't
some
matter.
money on it, but I just want to have that experience of taking my kids to the bookstore and having them
Yes.
find the book that I wrote. That's like a precious moment to me,
Regret minimization is a good
Yeah,
framework.
and same with working from the office. That's actually like another place where that came from. Like if 10 years from now, if this stuff is petered out or whatever, I'm gonna look back and kick myself from just like working from home the whole time instead of like living out that fantasy of having the cool space where you go with your friends, where you laugh and make cool stuff. And I'm gonna be too old to do it. Like that would
Devastating.
blow,
Devastating.
And that's not a money thing. It's just like a take action thing,
Mm-hmm.
So how is that related? Because we said the words for Factoring UI. I don't know. But yeah, strategically, you're starting to convince me that maybe this isn't what you're trying to convince me to do, but I'm starting to become convinced
I'm
to
still
just go
man both
all
sides,
in
so whatever.
on the Adam Wathan channel, honestly.
Okay.
And it's almost like an effort to sort of migrate my audience from Twitter to YouTube in a way.
Which you have talked about a bunch, and I think that
and
is
it's not
something that's
because
been
I
on
have
your
any.
mind for a long time.
I still love Twitter, but I do kind of feel like if I was starting from scratch, that's where I would be. That would be like my social platform for sure, because you can delete comments.
Sounds nice, yeah.
But yeah. So,
how do you think about my characterization of you needing some sort of outlet where you can just kind of do whatever you want? Does that seem at least directionally correct?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think I feel that freedom with Twitter. I can just post whatever I want to Twitter, and it doesn't have to be sort of like approved by the PR people at the
PR
company,
part of your brain, which is
me.
real. Yeah.
And putting things like I already struggle with that on the Tailwind channel. That's why when I live stream building something with Tailwind, it still goes on my channel, not like the Tailwind channel. I want to believe that we can design it in a way where we give ourselves that freedom and flexibility. But I do think there is potential for conflict there. Like if Steve just doesn't really think something I'm doing should go there, or vice versa, you know, might not. It could suck to run into
It could suck.
situations like that.
Yeah.
But
So, well, let's leave the strategic discussion with this. What is the thing we're trying to figure out what to do, but backing up from that, what is the thing that you're optimizing for? Because if you're optimizing for selling more Tailwind Plus, it makes sense to go in all into a Tailwind channel. If you're optimizing for life, happiness, I do whatever I want, it makes sense to go in on an Adam channel, which does not necessarily mean Steve has to go in on a Steve channel.
Yeah,
just for
I'm
the
more
record.
optimizing for that, I think. Yeah, there's just like a lot of factors, you know, like working in person, doing the YouTube thing, not 100% connected in my mind.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
rather still work in person with Steve, even if we don't do any video content. That said, when I've gotten into the video stuff, it's a rabbit hole that I've like had a fun time getting into. It's a fun thing to learn about. It's a fun thing to do, and I enjoy
buy gear, set up gear, tweak
learning.
settings. Like it's a blast.
Dude, I bought 2 studio displays today to put in the new office. I think they're sitting at the door. I'm going to spend probably $5,000 on desks and another 2,500 on chairs today. It's going to be just going to spend money everywhere. I love spending money.
Great. So much fun.
Especially business money, man.
It's great.
Super
it's
free.
Like 35% off. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like we're going to be more productive working in person because you focus more, you know, or you fuck around
energy's
on the
higher.
same stuff. It's just going to be better. But Steve's excited about doing the video stuff. I'm excited about doing the video stuff with Steve. I've always had a lot of ideas for doing video stuff. Again, a lot of it comes down to don't really know where it's going to go, but
Sure.
I have faith that it will go somewhere cool. But yeah, it is a bit of a paralyzing decision when like, okay, you're ready to do this, but you just got to pick a place to do it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people will have a lot of advice on the best way to like structure YouTube channels, but you just have to figure out, I think, what do you want out of your life, because then that advice may not apply at all. I think the normal, like the easy advice is like, obviously go in on a Tailwind channel because it's Tailwind brand, you can sell more Tailwind stuff. Duh. But it's like, is that what you want to do with your life?
For some
Which
reason,
is kind
it
of
just
an
doesn't
important question.
resonate that hard for me.
Which is totally fine.
Like that, yeah, perfect world, it would just be Adam Wathan, but because Steve wants to do stuff too, it becomes a challenge, and it feels like we should do stuff together. So it feels like we should have one place to put that stuff.
I would challenge that a little bit. I think it would be a totally fine eventuality if Steve makes a bunch of refactoring UI content that goes on the Tailwind channel, you do a bunch of whatever that goes on the Adam channel, and then you do what's new in Tailwind and you put that on the Tailwind channel. I think that is totally fine. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's like, do we do discrete channels or do we do a Tailwind channel? You can do a discrete channel and Steve can run the Tailwind channel and you can hop in whenever you want. But that goes back to like what content goes where. I think you just default to everything goes on Adam, unless it's like, well, this is specifically about a new Tailwind feature. Let me just put that on the Tailwind channel.
It also might just not matter at all. You know, the Tailwind Labs channel has a big following. It doesn't matter that it's called Tailwind Labs currently, you know?
Right. I do think the algorithm is better than just like you follow a channel, you get the channel. Like we know that that's not true. So it's probably going to all wash out, honestly.
Yeah. But I do think the best YouTube channels are generally people, you know, I feel like. So
be a person, whichever you do, just be a person or a small
you got to be a person
people.
either way. So no matter what, even if we go into a combined channel, I want people to know who we are.
Right.
And I don't know how many good examples there are of that, though, to be fair.
Of combined channels?
Combined channels where the personalities are still very well known.
That's hard.
You know?
Yeah.
There's like the Drumeo channel, and it's mostly one guy hosting that. And I know his name. I don't know if everyone knows his name, though, because he's not really the star of the channel. He's kind of the facilitator of the content.
I imagine there are lots of like host and guest channels, but very few like small cohort channels or like collections or indie creative collectives, whatever.
There's like stuff like Dude Perfect, which is like a brand, and there's a
Yep.
few dudes
I
doing
went to
it.
college with all those guys.
Oh, nice.
I know, I missed it. What the hell was I
Yeah.
doing? I should have been hanging out
Bummer.
with them instead of taking accounting
So
classes.
close.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of those guys, and they show up in all of, 90% of their videos together.
Yeah.
So they're not doing like, hey, I'm Dude and I'm Perfect, and we're going to do discrete videos on the same channel,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. That's true. If it's mostly me making a video or Steve making a video, then maybe it kind of is weird that they even are on the same channel. But like other ideas for content that I've had, like I want us to have like a monthly budget for like flying someone in to do cool stuff with that person. So I've always really wanted to do like
so fun,
find experts to teach me things and teach me in person so that I can ask them questions. And I think anyone watching that is going to learn so much more than they would from just that person trying to create a video on their own teaching stuff, because I'm like a proxy for the viewer,
Yep.
which I think is really fun. I think that would be cool. We bring someone in for 2 days and maybe we have like 4 types of videos and we bang out 4. We do the Drumeo thing where there's Drumeo guests, man, that there's still new videos coming out with them. And I know it's been 6 months since they were like at the studio.
That's how real pros do it.
Yes, dude. They're just discipline to be able to record these things and then drip them out is untouched. I don't know. I think the tech world moves a little too fast to hold things for that long.
Yeah.
But, stuff like that would be fun. I don't know, like what other stuff we would want to do. But I don't know if that belongs on like a Tailwind channel. Like Adam learns something with someone,
right?
Or, I don't know. It all kind of feels like it would be totally fine to be branded under me, except for the stuff that Steve wants to do. But also the stuff Steve wants to do can just be on his, and that can also be fine. It's the same way we're separate people on Twitter. There's no reason we can't just be separate people on YouTube. But they should fucking let you just post videos to one channel from 2 separate accounts.
They should have the idea of a collective. Yeah. So it sounds like you're trying to convince me you should have an Adam Wathan channel, and I don't know.
I'm just talking it out in my head.
I support you.
It
feels
but
like
I
that's
do think
where
people
your soul is going.
I guess I just believe people want to follow people, not brands, even if the brand is big. Like, yes, Microsoft is one of the most well-known brands in the world, or I don't know. What's like a better example? Because no one gives a shit about anyone who works at Microsoft anymore.
I don't know. What's something cool?
I'd rather follow DHH than 37 Signals. I'd rather follow Nathan Barry than Kit.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I'd rather follow Nathan Barry than Kit.
Yeah. Convert embraces Kit.
Right. Formerly Convert Kit. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't know. There's probably a bunch of other ones like that too.
But then there's stuff like Teenage Engineering where I don't know a single person who works there.
And I think no one there has really cultivated a personal brand either, or maybe even cares to. Yeah. But I don't know, like, what would their content be? It would probably mostly be weird commercials, I think.
It would be, probably. God, their stuff is so cool. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know a single person that works there. So whatever happens, I like the idea of you following the muse, you getting back into doing some wild stuff, some right down the middle, but like just doing whatever Adam wants to do, but publicly.
I'll say
that
like
feels good to me.
Meta conversation. I really want to guide my life back to being more me doing things with the support of a team than me running a company. You know, whatever that means in terms of the YouTube strategy, I don't totally know, but I guess it's another thing that pushes me in the direction of wanting it to be more personal.
That is a good guiding principle that makes answering all these questions easier.
Yeah.
That makes, as you've already found out, office and work in person decisions easier. That makes YouTube decisions easier. That makes the future of like, what is Tailwind going to look like easier? And so finding out how you can bend all of those decisions towards that guiding principle seems pretty important to me.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, we're an hour and 35 minutes into this. Is there anything you want to talk about?
No, we solved it. That's great. Oh, it's amazing. The only thing I want to do is I want to ask the audience. I need help because we have now tried to hire 2 nannies. In fact, we have hired 2 nannies and they've both backed out. One backed out 3 or 4 weeks before she was supposed to start and said she found a
Is this
family
like
that
to
was
replace your au pair?
our au pair's going back to Germany. Visa's over.
That's brutal.
Brutal. So the first one backed out because she said she found a family that was a better fit, which, what the hell? Come on. Rude.
Yeah.
The second one.
That's a kick in the balls. Yeah.
Yeah. The second one backed out like a week before she was supposed to start, which she was supposed to start this week. Our au pair leaves on Wednesday. And
you get
she backed out.
Au pair?
We could. Ours was so good that it feels like there's no chance we'll get someone that good. And also, I think even as good as she was, which she was amazing, I don't want to have a roommate anymore.
But at least they're locked in, you know?
I know. Yeah, you either work for us or you have to go back to Germany.
Get the fuck back on the plane. I don't know.
as much as we adore her, imagine having a grown-up roommate, like a grown niece or nephew live with you. It's like,
but they can't back out.
It's just different. They can't back out. So
at least it gives you that confidence, or just that security.
They're moving to this country. It's very little chance they're going to say, you know what? I changed my mind. So if you know of someone in Dallas, Texas, that wants to work with the best family in the world and wants to work 25, 35 hours a week as a nanny, you'll never be responsible for all 4 kids at once, only 2 at a time. Please let me know, because we are desperate.
That's
help.
That is hard.
That sucks. That's the only thing I really want to talk about.
Nannying, dude. We have had a couple nannies, and it's a huge help. I don't know how people raise families without at least 3 adults involved.
I don't either. I mean, our kids, like, we have so many so young that, like, it's just logistically impossible for one person, i.e. my wife, who's a stay-at-home mom, to do any of that.
No, it's impossible. It's totally impossible.
Totally impossible. We're living in the worst timeline where, like, we should have grandparents everywhere and little aunts and uncles everywhere.
Older ones like in daycare during the week at all?
4 days a week, they're in a 9 to 2:30, a Mother's Day.
But there's something to do, where you gotta.
Yeah. And next year they'll be in, I think, 5 days a week. Like a pre-kindergarten type thing. But yeah. So please, dear listener, find me someone that can do this, because we're dying.
People without kids, man, they are they just don't know what they got. They don't know.
And what they got is
time.
They
can't know. They can't know.
They can't know.
It's Schrodinger's opportunity.
Yes, I do know.
You cannot realize your potential until it's no longer available to you.
Brutal.
At which point you also can't realize your potential. It's fun though. They're cute. So.
They're cute. They're great. I love them. I love them to death. But that does not lessen just the amount of work it is. It's just a lot of work.
It's just many tasks need to be performed.
Like, it's just, there's no way around it.
Just tasks. Yep.
So, that's all.
Well, good luck. I hope you find somebody.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I hope somebody listening knows somebody in Dallas that would want a job like that. So we shall see. All right. Anything else before I read us out?
No, that's it.
Well, I don't know if we solved anything, but it sure was fun.
I feel pretty good. I think we're getting somewhere.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing what the final answer is going to be, but either way, I will be watching. You can find all show notes and everything at mostlytechnical.com. Thank you to Bento and WorkOS for sponsoring this show, and thanks to Adam for filling in for Ian. We will see you next time.
See ya.